Anthony Saskatoon. Hello, my name is Anthony. I am the local president for the Waceya Métis Society. Food security has been, well, a big part of my life, growing up on welfare, growing up in a single parent household. The actually able to get food on the table was quite a hard process. So I've been gardening with my mom since we had a little bit of plot of land. So always been able to make sure that we had some vegetables and stuff like that. And then just when I was able to step up into the community, a lot of the conversations that have been coming up, especially over the last couple of years, have been food initiatives, and that's really where it's kind of led into this more of an organizational approach to food security. One of our programs that we ran, I had the opportunity to actually deliver the meat to the different communities. And going out, speaking with the members one-on-one, speaking with the citizens, that was really that first kind of eye-opener of how important food is, and how even, you know, one pound of ground beef can have such an impact on a family, that even for that couple of days, they know that they have a little bit of security. Their families are going to have a bit of food in their stomach. So that was really, you know, an eye-opener for us, that needs to be more of an initiative on our end to where some of our focuses should be. Definitely have some major focus over the next year for our food security plans. The way that we approach it in our community is we really look at the food security as part of our healing. A lot of that food security has a lot of the medicine in it. So, you know, when we think about food security, how can we get some of those traditional plants, medicines, meats that we would have traditionally ate on, you know, in the prairies and in Manitoba? And that I had the chance to sit with in a program with Maria Campbell, and she spoke about eating the moose nose, and how the moose would dig its head into the water. It would be in the water lilies, and it would have all these nutrients. And when you eat that snout, the moose nose itself, you're actually getting a lot of that medicine and that inner healing that you want. So that's really what we look at, is, you know, a long-term approach, not something that's just a handout, but how can we not only bring the food to the table, but also bring a bit of culture and tradition with it. And that's what we, you know, when we approached the bit of funding that we got through MBC, we were able to get a quarter of a bison from a local farmer that they grow the bisons. And obviously bison is one of our traditional meats. The board was so supportive of it. We actually were able to double the amount. So we actually bought a half a bison. So we were able to take out, you know, 52 families' food that are our traditional meals, our traditional meats, that now at this dinner table, the lunch table, maybe they're going to bring it to their actual workplace. They're going to be able to have these conversations about the meat, about the bison, how it's part of their culture, and keeping not only, you know, their tradition alive, but then also their families understand a little bit of their history and, you know, the tradition there. And then just trying to like focus on, you know, now when I first came in as a president, I thought the main focus was, you know, activities, getting together, jigging, fiddling and that. And I've really seen that, you know, especially where we are in Langley, Fort Langley, White Rock, it's kind of that cross section, and there's a lot of people that get lost in between, and that, you know, food security is top of mind. So we do have a community garden. Last year we planted vegetables in it in the hopes of having community come out. This year we went the approach of planting some of the traditional medicines. So, you know, really just trying to figure out what works for our community. Every community is obviously different. And then just listening, you know, like we heard from our community, there's a need for food. So we can now turn our focus to write some bigger grants, and try to write some longer term grants that are able to be more than just a surprise gift card here and there. Yeah, no, we have a few things that are coming up. So we wrote another grant for the FCC, the Farm Credit Canada, or something like that. We wrote a $10,000 grant to plant some saskatoon berries bushes, and then also winterize our medicines out there. So it was brought to us from one of our board members that they wanted to try to make some pemmican. That's again one of our traditional meats in that. So to plant some of these saskatoon berries to then have a bit of a Saskatoon orchard in our garden that we can eventually pick the berries, harvest some of the meat from Academy Farms. That's where we got the bison from. And then most likely have our captain of the hunt teach us how to create the pemmican or some of our elders. And then also our garden ourselves. So we are going to be installing a big sign, a community garden sign at our location and locality. And this is part of a plant walk and mischief program that we're doing with support from MBC. So we're going to be able to have our community members come out. They're going to be able to come to the community garden, potentially have Saskatoon berries to pick. They'll have all their traditional medicines there, fixed up the shed there so that we can dry the medicines. And then they're actually able to walk about maybe a kilometer path around a beautiful lake, get a little bit of tranquility, and see some of the traditional medicines from these lands themselves. So we're really kind of vamping up that community garden, trying to find things that not necessarily, you know, it's not like we're going to plant a squash and give the squash, but, you know, we can plant Saskatoon berries, we can get some bison, we can combine those two, and then that food is a little bit, has a little bit longer shelf life on it. And then just kind of keep on focusing on the community garden, trying to get members to come out there. And eventually we'd like to then have more beds where community members are coming and actually planting what they would want to have in there, and then coming out and tending to the garden. You know, starting with the plants, the medicines that people like, you know, we added some carrots, we've added some basil, we've added a couple vegetables that people can kind of get, and slowly trying to get them to come out and participate. And, you know, it's incredible the feeling that you get when your hands get a little bit dirty when you're out in the nature and, you know, you're just kind of planting something, you're watching it grow. It kind of comes hand in hand with food and mental health and just kind of that overall wellness.